Good morning, my dear children. I hope you are very fine and you are waiting for social class, right? So, today we are going to learn about rulers and buildings. So, this is the fifth lesson from history. Okay. So, what is the chapter name? Rulers and buildings. Repeat along with me, my dear children. What is the chapter name? Rulers and buildings. So, you have seen many different monuments like Taj Mahal and some temples like Tanjavur. So you have seen those, but that architecture style, everything you might have admired sometime. Maybe you have seen directly or in TV or in internet, anywhere you have seen those images. But you don't know how they were constructed and who constructed those, and you all sometimes you know little but you don't know exactly what happened, right? So today we are going to see about the connection between rulers and buildings, kings and buildings. Okay, what is the connection between them, how they constructed, why they constructed? Okay, we are going to see about all those in today's lesson. So it's very interesting lesson. Okay, so it's like you are going to get the information about how they were built, for what they were built. Okay, so let's go into the lesson. Before getting into the lesson, take a note and pen and take notes. Okay, take your rough note and pen and take notes while listening to the class. Okay, take all the hints that you feel like important. Okay, so let's go into the lesson. So first, rulers and buildings. So first we are going to see about topic under rulers and buildings. So between 8th and 18th centuries, two kind of structures built by kings and officers. So how many kind of structure built? Two kinds. Two kinds of structure built by kings and officers. Now we are going to see what are those. The first one is like fort, palaces, garden, residences and tombs. So these places are like for places of rest. They feel like safe and protect, and garden is place of rest in the world. So look here some picture, fort, palaces, garden and tomb. So they feel like these are places of rest. Okay, and another structure that is meant for public activity including temple, mosque, tanks, wells, then like caravansaries and bazaars, big markets, then for some people to stay like caravansaries. So these like two different structure they made. One is like places of rest. What are those? Like fort, palaces, garden, residence and tombs. And another place for public activities like including temple, mosque, tank, wells, caravansaries and bazaars. Okay, understood children? Have you got a clear image? Very good. So next slide. Kings were expected to take care for subjects. So they built and they will take care nicely, maintenance, everything will be done nicely. Superstructure of, and then they will maintain that structure properly. They will maintain clear and they will clean that place, and it will be like maintained properly so that they can get prize from the king, sorry, from the people. So the king's target is to get prize from the people. Prize means the people will be saying, wow, what a great king, how he constructed these temples, how he constructed those places, how he is maintaining, he is a great king. Like that people will be praising the king, right? So the king need that prize. Okay, so he always keep that in his mind. Okay, the construction was mostly carried out by others including merchants. So construction, this construction, making that building, that is carried out by others including merchants. Merchants means those who are doing the business like trade. Okay, buying, selling, all those. Built temples, mosques and wells. Nevertheless, domestic architecture, large mansions of merchants survived only from 18th century. So They built many temples, mosques. Temples, you know, right? Worship place of Hindu people. And mosque, you know, worship place of Muslim. And wells, big wells, and very good architecture and large mansions. That means the people who is coming for trade, merchants, that people can stay in those places, large mansions. So these were survived from which century, my dear children? 18th century. Okay, children? Next, engineering skills and construction. So how their engineering skills and how they constructed. Now we are having many courses to that, like engineering courses, civil engineering, and many courses we have, and after that people are going for construction, right? Designing and all. But before there were no constructional courses or no engineering courses, but even though think about their skills, engineering skills they have, okay, they have done in a better and wonderful way, super architecture, okay. So monuments give insight into the technologies used for construction. So the technologies what they use for construction amazed all the people, okay. For example, roof is manufactured by placing wooden beams or slab of stone across four walls. So how they made roof? For making roof, they placed a wooden beam across a slab, wood, like how they mean, like four walls. 1, 2, 3, 4. So across these four walls, they placed a wooden beam, like a wooden beam on the top or a slab of stone on the top. Okay, so this is the roof. Okay, so in your room, just turn up, look up, you have a roof there, right? Okay, so if you are in the room, you might have four walls and above you have like a roof. Okay, now you are having this as a roof. Okay, but previously they made roof by placing wooden beam or slab. Understood, children? Very good. So however, to make large rooms with elaborate superstructure, they need many skills, right? Because to make big rooms, because at that time not many instruments will be there. Like nowadays we are having many machines, many things to do, but in the olden days they have to think deeply to make different architecture. Okay, between the 7th and 10th centuries, architects added more door and windows to the building. So between which century, my dear children? 7th and 10th century, these architects, the people who are constructing, they added more rooms and doors, windows to the building. So this roof, doors, windows were made by placing a horizontal beam, like this horizontal beam, across two vertical columns. Okay, the style is called trabate or corbelled. Trabate or corbelled. Okay, see, look here, two vertical columns. Above that, horizontal beam is placed. So this is called what style, my dear children? Trabate or corbelled. Okay, children? Very good. We'll move to see. So you see, now you will learn about arcuate in the coming slides. Okay. Now you see the difference between trabate and arcuate. So, trabate means placing a horizontal beam over a vertical column. Okay. Arcuate means this, instead of horizontal beam, you will see a arch. Okay, arch like this. Okay, so this is called arcade. Understood, children? Very good. So temple construction in the early 11th century. So early 11th century, how the temple construction were there. King Dangadeva of Chandala dynasty constructed the Kandarya Mahadeva temple, that is dedicated to Shiva temple, in 999. So, which king, my dear children? Gangadeva of Chandala dynasty constructed temple named Kandarya Mahadeva temple. So, this temple is dedicated to Shiva, Lord Shiva. In which year it was constructed? 1999. It has a big ornamented gateway, big entrance, okay, and it has a main hall, Maha Mandapa, where dances were performed. In olden days, they will praise the Lord and they will dance, okay. So that place is called Maha Mandapa. Image of the chief deity, that main god image, is kept in the main shrine, main place, that is called Garbhagriha. Garbhagriha, okay, the place of ritual worship where only the king and his immediate family and priest only allowed. So the place where the ritual, where the prayer, pujas were performed, there only king, immediate family and priest, that those who are doing that rituals only will be allowed. The Khajuraho complex contained royal temples where commoners were not allowed. So in Khajuraho complex, that contained royal temple in which commoners will not be allowed, public people will not be allowed. The temples were decorated with elaborately carved sculptures. So the temples were decorated with different kind of sculptures, that images and the idols. Okay, children. Next we are going to see about Raja Rajeshwara temple at Tanjavur. Now we are going to see about Raja Rajeshwara temple at Tanjavur. So it has the tallest sihara amongst the people, amongst that temple of that time. So at that time, this Raja Rajeshwara temple was having the largest sigara. So what is sigara? Sigara means the top of that temple. Okay. So if the temple is like this, if the temple is like this temple, the top place, this topmost place, there will be a sigara. Okay. So that is called a sigara. So this sigara, this Rajarajeshwara temple has the biggest and tallest sigara amongst all temples during that time. Okay. So building that is not easy, right? So how they will build? How they will go to this place and construct that sigara? No crane at that time. Then how might have they gone to that place and constructed? Because big stones like 90-ton stones have to be reached at the top. How they made it? How it is possible? Do you have any idea? No crane. How to the top of that? Any ideas, children? No. So it's that in the next slide. So architecture built an inclined plane. What they built, my dear children? Inclined plane. So you might have learned about inclined plane in 5th grade science, I think, children. So inclined plane means if the temple is like this, if the temple is like this, so here in the top they have to make the sigara. In the top they have to make the sigara, right? This place, in this place, sigara will be like this. Okay. So in the top they have to reach. So for reaching this top, what they have to do? They constructed the inclined plane. That means like this, inclined plane. So they will carry the big stones using this inclined plane to the top. Okay. Understood, children? So for this inclined plane, it started over 400 kilometers. So the distance between these two is 4 kilometers. I'm sorry, my dear children, 4 kilometers. Okay. So that they can roll the stones and reach the top. Okay. So after the construction of the temple, they dismantled this inclined plane. Okay. So they dismantled this inclined plane. Even though that village people, the nearby village people, they had this experience, right? how they constructed. So even that village, now they call that village as Charupallam. Charupallam. That means the village of incline. Okay children, understood? Very good. So we'll move to the next slide. So now we are going to see about two noticeable technologies and stylistic that developed in 12th century. First one is arc weight. So I explained about arc weight beginning itself. Instead of horizontal beam, what is there? Arch is there. That is arc weight. Okay children. And second one is high quality limestone cement. Limestone cement. They used high quality cement mixed with stone chips hardened into concrete. Okay, that high quality cement. Okay, during that time, think how they were thinking and making each and everything. So that was used for the construction. And then building temples, mosques and tanks. Temples, mosques beautifully constructed. Why they were constructed very beautifully? Because they were the places of worship, and so also they demonstrate the power of the king, the wealth of the king, and wealth and then devotion to the person, and devotion like king, how he is devoted to God. Okay, example, Raja Rajeshwara temple. Which temple, my dear children? Raja Rajeshwara temple. So this temple was built by King Raja Raja Deva for the worship of his god Raja Rajeshwaram. So it was built by Raja Rajeshwara temple was built by King Raja Raja Deva for worship of his king. Which king? Raja Rajeshwaram. Okay. The king took God's name as it was auspicious and he wanted to appear like a god. So the king's name is Raja Raja Deva, right? So he took his God's name, Raja Rajeshwaram. From that he took the name because that is auspicious. Auspicious means that is holy, and he wanted to appear like God. So when in the temple he constructed like Raja Rajeshwara temple, that all the rituals were performed in the name of Raja Rajeshwara temple, Raja Rajeshwaram god. Okay, so that when everyone is praising that God, worshipping that God, he feels like he was worshipped because same name, right? Understood children? Very good. The largest temples were all constructed by kings. Okay, so large temples were constructed by the kings. Okay, it is a miniature of model of the world ruled by the king and his allies. So it's like a temple mosque that showed the power of the king. Okay, so Muslim sultans and badshahs did not claim to be incarnation of God. Persian court chronicles describe, so British people, they never say as God, they say themselves, not British people, Muslim sultans. Okay, Muslim sultans and badshahs. Muslim sultans and badshahs, Muslim people, they call themselves as shadow of God. What, my dear children? Shadow of God. Shadow of God. Okay children. Next, an inscription. So inscription, you know, right, will be written in the stone. Okay, that is inscription. So in the inscription in the Quwat al-Islam Mosque, Quwat al-Islam Mosque, they have written like, God chose Alauddin as a king. God chose. Who chose Alauddin as a king? God. Why God chose him? Because Alauddin had the qualities of Moses and Solomon. This Moses and Solomon are like great lawgivers in the past. They will be giving the best laws to the people. So God found those qualities of Moses and Solomon in Alauddin. So God chose Alauddin as a king. Okay children. The greatest lawgiver and architect God created the world out of chaos and introduced order and symmetry. So this greatest lawgiver, he created the world without fights and with order and symmetry. made precious water available by constructing big tanks on reservoirs. Okay, so king also constructed big tanks and reservoirs, okay, for collecting precious water. Sultan Iltutmish constructed a large reservoir just outside Delhi Huna called the Hauz-i-Sultani or the King's Reservoir. So, what is it called? That tank reservoir is called Hauz-i-Sultani, that is called King's Reservoir. So, for collecting precious water. Rulers often constructed tanks and reservoirs, big or small, for ordinary people. Sometimes these tanks and reservoirs will be a part of a temple. Inside the temple there will be a tank, or inside the mosque, or inside Gurdwara. So Gurdwara means a place of worship for Sikhs. Okay. Why were temple targeted? So we learned, like till now what we learned like these temples were the temples showing the power of the king. Okay. So usually when another king is attacking this kingdom, they targeted mainly the temple. So first they will attack the temple, they will take all the wealth from the temple. Okay. So for this, one example is in the early 19th century, Pandyan king Sri Mara, Sri Vallabha, okay, in 19th century, Pandyan king Sri Mara, Sri Vallabha invaded Sri Lanka, which place Sri Lanka, and defeated that king Sena I. Defeated the king Sena I, 1831 to 1851. So Sena I was ruling in 1831 to 1851. So in 19th century, Pandyan king Srimara Sri Vallabha invaded, attacked Sri Lanka and defeated that king Sena I. According to Buddhist monk and chronicler Dhammakirti, he removed all the valuables, the statue of Buddha, entirely of gold in jewel palace, and the gold images in the variable monasteries, everything, all that things he seized. Okay, in order to avenge this blow to the pride of Sinhalese ruler, the next Sinhalese ruler, Sena II, ordered his general to invade Madurai, the capital of Pandyas. So what happened? First, this Pandyan king, what he did, he invaded Sri Lanka and defeated that king Sena I and took all the valuable things from that place, and he moved to Pandya. Okay, and after, in order to take a revenge, to take the things back to Sri Lanka, Sinhalese, what happened? Next ruler, Sena II, he ordered his general, go to Pandyam. That means Pandya capital is Madurai. Go to Madurai and get those back. This expedition made a special effort to find and restore the gold statue of Buddha. That gold statue they took from Sri Lanka, right? To bring it back to Sri Lanka, they made a big effort. Early 11th century, Chola king Rajendra I built a Shiva temple in his capital filled with prized statues seized from all defeated rulers. So in 11th century, that story over, this is the next story. In 11th century, Chola king Rajendra I, he built a Shiva temple. In this temple, the Shiva temple, he kept many prized statues the statue he took from the defeated kingdom. Okay, so in all that kingdom he took many statues, right? All those he kept in that Shiva temple. Okay, the list included what are the things he kept inside. That sun pedestal from the Chalukyas, a Ganesha statue and several statues of Durga, a Nandi statue from eastern Chalukyas, an image of Bhairava, that is a form of Shiva, and Bhairavi from the calling gods of Orisha, a Kali statue from the Palas of Bengal. Okay, so these are the things they kept inside. Sultan Mahmud of Ghazni, contemporary of Rajendra I, attacked the temples of defeated kings. lost all their wealth and idols. Not a very important ruler at that time, by destroying temples, especially one at Somnath, was the great credit as a hero of Islam. So Sultan Muhammad of Ghazni, he also attacked the temples and defeated kings, temples of defeated king. Okay, so what is the main concept here? The king, if he wanted to attack one kingdom, first he will attack the temple, okay, and seize all the things, all the items present there. Next, now we are going to see about gardens, tombs and forts. The Mughal architecture was complex. So Mughal architecture is like different and it is like more technological. So Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir and especially Shah Jahan, they showed their interest in literature, art and architecture. Babur described in his interest in planning and laying out formal gardens placed with rectangular walled enclosure divided into 4 quarters by artificial channel in between. This is called Chahar-Bagh. Okay, so Chahar-Bagh means that entire garden is divided into 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that is divided into 4 parts. So that is called as Chahar-Bagh. Okay, understood children? So Akbar, Jahangir and Shah Jahan built some beautiful Chahar-Baghs in Kashmir, Agra and Delhi. Okay, so this architectural innovations they showed in tombs also, building tombs. So what does mean by tomb? That dead people burial place. Okay, tombs. So this is the tomb of Humayun tomb. Okay, so they have their Humayun tomb, they have central towering dome. So what is dome? The circular part at the top is called as dome. Okay, tomb placed in the center of a huge formal Chahar-Bagh, built in a traditional known as 8 paradise or Hashtbisht. So Chahar-Bagh, you know, right? That garden divided into 4 parts. Okay, that is Chahar-Bagh. Their center they placed a tomb. That tomb is built in a form called Hashtbisht. Hashtbisht. That means 8 paradise. That means central hall is surrounded by 8 rooms. Central hall is surrounded by 8 rooms. That so it is called as 8 paradise or Hashtbisht. Okay. So his reign witnessed huge amount of construction in Agra and Delhi. So for ceremonial halls, so ceremonial halls means in the for they will in ceremonial halls public wear will be allowed. So if any functions or any award function or any during that time they will be giving many functions, right? So those functions were performed in that ceremonial halls. Okay, children. Then Shah Jahan's audience hall resembled a mosque. So it will be like a mosque. That audience hall is like a mosque. So where his throne was placed was described as a Qibla. Qibla means while they are worshipping, they will place the direction of Mecca. Okay. So the direction faced by the Muslim at prayer. So they face the direction of Mecca. So during the court, when the court was in session, everybody faced that direction, the Mecca's direction. Okay. So this architecture features that suggest the idea of king as the representative of God on earth. So it shows the connection between God and the king. Okay. Behind Emperor's throne, there was a series of Pitatura. That means inlays like a drawing or different structure they have. Okay. That depict the legendary Greek god Orpheus playing the lute. So on Greek god, he is playing the lute like that. It was designed. Okay. So why it was designed like that? Playing a lute, because that it was believed like that music calm all the beast that are like very angry beast will be there, right? So that will be calmed by this music. It was believed like that and it was drawn. Okay. Shah Jahan's audience hall aimed to communicate that the king's justice would treat the high and low as equal. So, his audience was created like everyone is treated equal. Okay. Shah Jahan's capital was Agra. So, what was Shah Jahan's capital? Agra. So, there he had formal garden with Chahar Bagh format. That is known as riverfront garden. Riverfront garden. That garden he made is called as riverfront garden. Shah Jahan adapted the river front garden in the layout of Taj Mahal. So, you all know Taj Mahal, right? Who built Taj Mahal? Shah Jahan. Very good. Shah Jahan develops this architecture form. So, he made many architectural form, and in the new city of Shah Jahanabad, he constructed in Delhi new city. Shah Jahan constructed a new city that is called as Shah Jahanabad. There, near the river, only the nobles and the eldest son, they were given access to the river. Remaining people, they were allowed to construct homes far away from the river. Okay, what river was there? Yamuna. Region and empire. Between 8th and 18th century, construction activity increased a lot. Example, in Vijayanagara, the elephant stables of the ruler strongly influenced by the style of architecture found in the adjoining sultanates of Bijapur and Golconda, and construction activities increased. But that people, like, they will go to one place, they will get admired to the construction, and they will construct the same way in their place. Like also sometime nowadays it's happening, right? We'll move to the some houses, and we'll get admired to some houses, and in the same model our houses will be constructed, right? Similarly, in the olden days also, they will see the palace, get attracted, and they will construct their palace in the same way. So, in Vijayanagara, the elephant stables of the rulers were influenced. How they made that? By seeing the place in the sultanates of Bijapur and Golconda, there was an architecture. By impressed by that, they made that. Then in Vrindavan, near Madura, temples were constructed in architectural styles. They were similar to Mughal palaces in Fatehpur Sikri. Okay. Then in Bengal, local rulers had developed a roof that was designed to resemble a touched hat. So, you know dome, right? So, dome means, as I have informed before, that is a circular, like this. Wait, this is a upper part will be like a circular dome. Okay, Muslim mosque you have seen circular dome. So, that circular part is called dome. So, same Mughal liked that, and they made in their architecture. Okay. Many buildings in Akbar capital at Fatehpur Sikri follow the architecture style of Gujarat and Malwa. Okay. So, like this, they get impressed by one ruler's architectural style, and they follow that architectural style in their kingdom. Okay. So, thank you for listening very carefully and patiently. So, what are the things we have seen today? First, what is the topic of the lesson? Rulers and buildings. Then we have seen about how they were constructed, what are the two structures they followed. Then after that, we have seen about some temples as an example, how they constructed, what are the things, how uniquely they constructed. Then we have seen about tombs, forts, gardens, Chahar Bagh format, then Hasht Bisht, okay, riverfront garden. These are the things we have seen. And finally, we have seen about some great kings, how they have followed. Then these are the things we have seen. So, if you have any doubt, you see this video once again, you will understand very clearly. I hope you all have taken the important points and hints in your rough note. So, thank you children. Have a nice day.